Hi, and welcome to the Frog Pond School of Design. A while back on one of these videos, I talked about revolving doors, and I mentioned that they're actually a substitute for a vestibule, and particularly the airlock function of a vestibule, and compared the two. And I finished up by saying, yeah, vestibules could use some improvement as well, and that's what I want to talk about today. The codes require a vestibule to be 7 feet deep, and this kind of came about along with requirements for accessibility so that there would be room for someone in a wheelchair, for instance, to sit in that vestibule while the door closes behind and then the next one opens without hitting the wheelchair. And I guess my point is that like most code requirements, this is a compromise. The people writing the codes would say, how can we accomplish something here without making it too difficult on the people who are designing, building, owning the building and whatever? Because I think the vestibule should be deeper. That 7 feet that the code requires just doesn't allow for much maneuvering in there. Oftentimes, again, for individuals with disabilities, you have a push plate to activate getting the next door to open, and you've got to do some maneuvering to get to that. They're awfully tight, and that's okay if there's a good reason for them to be that tight. But so many designers look at the code and say, oh, how deep is the vestibule supposed to be? 7 feet. And they overlook the fact that that's a stated minimum, and that if they can provide more space, it would really be helpful to a lot of people for maneuverability and all that. However, I contend that there's another reason to make vestibules deeper, and that's a very practical reason for the people maintaining the building over time. And that is, if you notice, in most vestibules, there's a different kind of floor covering. This is called a walk-off mat of some sort or other. It might be something just lying on top of the floor, or it might be built into the floor in a little pit. And if that vestibule is 7 feet deep, this mat might be 5 feet. You might have 5 feet walking across it. That puts your feet on the mat maybe a couple times as you go through. That's really not enough for the walk-off function, the cleaning your shoes so you don't drag all this crud into the rest of the building. It's just not enough steps on there for that to be effective. So my position is, you make that vestibule as deep as you can to get as much walk-off mat as possible, and you're dramatically going to affect the cleanliness of the building and what it costs to maintain the building and keep it clean over time. And if your vestibule gets deep enough, you can do other things in there with reader boards, information, that sort of thing that can go on in the vestibule, and you can put the darn thing to pretty good use. So long as, and oftentimes, you walk into, for instance, a school at the end of a corridor, and it might be 20 feet before you get to the first doorway. The first thing that would really dictate that that's the end of the vestibule. So there are plenty of opportunities, I think, to make these vestibules a little bit deeper to improve a lot of things about the building. Just another one of my little observations over time. Thanks for joining us today on the Frog Pond School of Design. I look forward to seeing you hanging around the pond again real soon.